Hello and welcome to this special. I have with me Vishal Sikka, MD and CEO of Infosys, and R. Seshasayee, Chairman of the Board of Infosys. Vishal, let me start with you. When the entire controversy started with respect to remuneration, did you think what is this entire controversy about? Because it's all linked to performance.
My remuneration?
Yes.
It's the sign of the attention and the interest in our company. So, you chalk it up to that.
One of the key things which is coming up is the channel between the founders and the board and the senior management. Does this open up a channel of communication between the senior management, which is you, and the founders for inputs for all the activities which is happening in the company?
I mean, I have always had a very warm and heartfelt relationship with Mr. Murthy, and I meet the other founders every once in a while, rarely, but I meet Mr. Murthy maybe 4 or 5 times in a year, and we talk about all kinds of things, generally not about the company, and to the extent it is about the company, it is about longer term kinds of things and so forth. So I always value his advice, and so I don't need any particular channel to talk to them.
But does it now prompt to talk about company as well?
I think that you are separating the governance, you are mixing the governance and
I mean to say that, there's a lack of communication with respect to governance in the company and the talk and communication about the governance within the company as well with the founders. And that's what one of the issues which is coming up. So does it also give, you take this as an opportunity to open up that channel as well?
You can always improve things, based on feedback from people, and I think so. We are always open to that. We always learn. That is one of the things Mr. Murthy always talked about, was learnability, and so you have to always be open, and not only to the founders but to all the shareholders for input and for advice. But in the end, we are entrusted with the responsibility, both the fiduciary responsibility as a board, but also the responsibility to run and execute on the strategy of the company, and that's what you have to stay focused on.
Mr. Seshasayee, as chairman of the board, in hindsight, do you think that communication was still lacking from the Infosys management and board with respect to various activities which is happening, or where was the lacuna?
No, as I said, I think we had communication, fairly active communication. But as I said, that this is a part of the process of establishing a very different kind of a structure in terms of a professional board, which is not managed by the promoters. There is a cultural transformation that's taking place, and therefore there is probably more need for effective communication of these issues and the challenges that we face as setting up a professional board and an independent board. So from the point of view effectiveness of communication, I think maybe that we have to do something more. But I think the quantum of communication has been there. It's not that it has not been there.
One of the issues which came up was about the severance policy. It was more, subjective in nature, and you yourself said in the press conference that now you're moving away to a more structured and more principle-based severance policy.
Absolutely.
Can you give us an idea of how will it pan out across board, maybe at the CEO level, at the CFO level, and on the employee level it may be much more. There are multiple layers of employee, but the KMP of the top two bands.
The KMP agreements have all been done, as I mentioned, by benchmarking salary packages relative to the position that they hold, relative to the geography that they operate in, and relative to the benchmarks and severance packages and so on. So I think this process has already happened, and we now have those kind of agreements already in place. So I think the extent of the subjectivity that is required in matters like this have come down now.
With respect to the KMPs which are on the board, will you be open to putting out what kind of severance they have in case they have to leave?
The details of the KMP compensation is already in public domain.
No, but with respect to like a CEO and CFO or a COO who are on the board, what is the kind of severance they will?
Every company has employment contract with the KMPs, and these are kind of processes that every company goes through in establishing compensation policies and so on. So to the extent that there was some gap in that, we have filled that gap, and so it's just now perhaps in par with what many other companies, global companies, do in this way.
Are the founders satisfied with the kind of action which you have taken with respect to putting a principle-based severance policy?
I'm sure they would be. I'm sure they expect that there will be learnings from what we have done. And as I said, by ourselves we had this learning, and I listened to these kind of voices and say, okay, let's take the substance of what they have to say, that we have to be more vigilant, shall I say, in terms of making business judgments. In retrospect, everything can be criticized, but at that point of time, you have to be perhaps be more vigilant. And business judgments have happened like this. This is not the first time. As Mr. Murthy himself said, good people make sometimes, judgments which can, in hindsight, look wrong. And I have no problem in accepting that. Yes, sometimes we do that. Yeah, but that's nothing to do with governance. They are business judgments.
What happens to the Rajiv Bansal 7th, because it's been suspended as of now?
Correct.
Finally, what happens to that?
That, as I said, is a part of the process. We are going through a process of understanding what the respective rights are, where it will lead to. I don't want at this point of time to speculate on
But
this.
there will be a negotiation with Rajiv Bansal with respect
There
to
is
that?
a process that is going on, and let's see what the outcome of the
Till
process
then,
is.
it will be a liability on the books of
It's
the
already
organization?
provided for by when the agreement is signed. It is provided for. This is from a financial point of view non-issue.
Okay. Appointments of directors was one of the issues which came in. There was an exception which was made for with respect to Jeff. You explained in the conference about the average age of the board was the reason why it was done, but it's still going away from the standards set by the board or by the founders when they set up the entire company. Is there a need to put more stringent standards that when you will be deviating from?
No, I think we have a perfectly good policy with regard to retirement of directors and so on. I think I don't see any reason for now making any changes in that. But sometimes when you believe that there is a good reason for making a change to the policy by exception, I think it's correct to do that. We cannot clerically look at policies. We have to judge the context in which these policies have to be applied. And in the case of Jeff, as I said, he was an important link to the past, and we believe they add value, and I'm happy that we did this.
And what happens that tomorrow if you find an individual who brings in more value to the board, but he's above the retirement age of a director, will you still make an exception?
Depends at that point of time. I don't think we need to be looking at all this kind of speculative scenarios. I mean, it depends about what the situation at that point of time. There's not a unitary kind of dimension to it. There are many dimensions to this.
What does this entire episode tell us about the remuneration and the stock or compensation policies? Does it need to be recalibrated? Does it need to be revisited with respect to the new times? Because these
we have done that. I think the fact that we have now done that kind of a structuring of the compensation policy, which a package for the CEO, which, as I said repeatedly, has been overwhelmingly approved by the shareholders, means that we are moving to contemporary practices which are acceptable to the shareholders.
And another issue was about Dr. Punita Kumar Sinha's appointment. The issue raised was of conflict of interest because of spouse being a union minister, and you articulated in the press conference about the capability of Dr. Sinha here. But my question is that Infosys has been avoiding those appointments in the past. Wherever they feel an iota of conflict of interest coming in, they will avoid that situation. But it did not happen this time. Irrespective of the ability of the individual.
First of all, there is no conflict of interest at all. I don't understand where the conflict arises.
Infosys has a huge business in India.
Well, we have much bigger businesses in US, for example, compared to India. Several times more volumes of business in US. And we've had, for example, Carol Browner as a director of the board, and Carol's husband was a politician in the US. So therefore, I think we should go by the merit of the candidate, and as far as I can see, there is no conflict of interest.
You appointed Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas to do a elaborate exercise with respect to various policies, including disclosure policies. By when do you expect that, and what kind of time framework you're looking at with respect to disclosures? And
at the moment, I don't have a time frame. I think we are in the process of putting together the framework, and we will go along with it as long as we think we need to do that in order to arrive at an answer. Maybe it can be very short assignment, maybe it can be a medium-term assignment, but we have to assess as we launch at this.
So the founders will also be contacted with.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And what about the disclosures which normally a board or a company makes to the founder? Mr. Murthy is also chairman emeritus.
He's not a chairman emeritus, but
mentor.
in any case,
yeah, he's the founder.
He's the founder. But in any case, we will be guided by what is lawful in the process of communication.
And that would mean that you have equal information available to all
Correct.
stakeholders.
That's right. No, symmetry. Yeah.
Mr. Seshasayee, thank you very much.
Thank you.